First of all, break down to me what these ends mean. N5, N10, N15, 20, N25, and so on.
So the ends, N5, N10, N15, all that is basically just like your line numbers. So we do it in increments of 5 because in case you make an error, you can just insert another line. Or if you need to add something, you can just insert it without having to redo your entire program after that.
So in fairness, you would say that N5, N10, the letter N with a number is basically telling the computer what it's going to do step by step.
Correct. N5 is one step, N10 is another step. And then if you miss a step in between, you can add N6, N7, whatever, up to 10.
But if I wanted to, I could write N1, N2, N3, N4, N5.
Correct, but then you don't leave room for error in case you miss something.
Okay. So Serrano, explain to me what N10 is.
N10 is gonna be, you're gonna let the machine know what's gonna be the max what's gonna be the max RPM that the spindle is gonna reach.
Okay.
It's gonna start at the spindles.
So N10 is telling the machine what the max RPM is for that machine, but what code tells the machine that?
G50.
G50, right? So G50 sets the spindle speed at 2,000 RPMs, which is the number we chose, right? They never go above 2,000. So Colado, break down to me what N15 is.
N15 is going to be so N15 tells you the constant.
Don't squint. You have it right there in front of you.
Okay.
I just don't want you to like.
N15 it tells you the constant speed, the speed feed per minute. That's what the FF or the SFPM stands for.
Surface feet per minute. All right. And how did I get that 700?
With the formula.
With the formula?
You provided, yes.
And what is the formula?
So it's the RPM is
the cutter speed divided by 4 divided by the diameter of the piece.
no times 4 divided by the diameter.
It's right here, Sarge. All right. You're roughing in and finishing. Your cutting speed for both is 600 or 800, depending on which one you're doing. It's your cutter speed times 4 divided by the diameter of the piece that you're working on, which is 3 inches, right? So that's how we got our number here, 700. What's that M in blank? What should we put there?
To turn the spindle on, you would put M03.
M03? Tells the machine to do what?
To turn the headstock on in a forward position.
Forward, right? All right. Sorry, Spiller. N20.
So N20, the first G code that's blank is G54, which is your user code. You're gonna use your user code when you're running your program. The G00 after that is the rapid movement, telling your machine to quickly move to the position that you input next. The X that is missing for our project, we put 3.1, and that just means it's going to be 3.1 off the stock to make sure it doesn't cut in, because the diameter of the stock should be 3 inches in diameter, so it's not going to cut into the piece. And then Z1 is exactly, you're going to start 100 thousandths back from the piece. That way you're not cutting into the piece too early.
So you're saying in theory it should come to right here?
The Z is basically where your start point is. So you can start your machine, it can get running, and you can see approximately where it's going to go in at. And then you would move on to your M08, which is your turn on coolant, so that you don't burn out the cutting bits.
All right. San Serrano, N25.
So M25. So you're gonna have your first code is gonna be G42. That's gonna be your tool nose compensation. So it's gonna let the machine how up from the machine. The tip of the cutter is gonna be from the piece, and then your G02 your rapid movement, and then for exercise it's gonna be 3.05 thousand units from the piece. So it's gonna actually ready to actually turn up, and then 01 still the same on the C. So it's not touching the piece yet, but it's getting ready to touch.
So basically you said G42 is the turn on, TNC right, which is tool nose compensation, right? And that is compensating for the size of the tool that's going in, which is already programmed. If you didn't know, the cutter is a 55-degree angle. So the machine knows that. So it's going to compensate for that cutter that's going into the part. Okay. So our stone, N30.
Alright, N30 is gonna be G71, which is your rough cycle, P35, which is the start of your cut, you're starting on line 35, Q80, which is the end of your cut, you're ending on line 80, U0.01, which is the material on the x-axis, W0.01, which is the material on the z-axis, D0.05, which is the depth of your cut, and then F0.012, which is your feed rate.
So very important, SARS. Always pay attention to the P and the Q in your code, all right? If you get that number wrong, we have already seen the outcome, all right? Regardless if you have parameters set on your machine is going to ignore those parameters and it's going to go left if you tell it to go further than what it's supposed to, all right? That P and Q is real important. All right, so I want to insult anybody's intelligence from N35 to N80 are basically what we just covered. All the coordinates that we just covered. So Colado, break down N90 for me.
N90, the first code is going to be G40. G40 is the cancel the compensation for the TNC. It cancels the tool nose compensation.
So it canceled the G42 that we put up in N25, yes?
Correct.
Okay.
And then it's going to go into then the next is the X3.1, which is basically off piece, and then you would put like an M09 to turn off the coolant. But since we're going to run a finishing cut, we're going to leave the coolant on.
Okay. So, do I need G40 in here?
Yes,
What would happen if I took out G40 from my code?
it would compensate for. It would just continue to run it at the same parameters that you have it on, and it not compensate for anything.
It wouldn't give you an error on the machine saying you were missing the code or you didn't
would.
cancel?
Depends. It would give you it would. Sometimes it would, and sometimes it won't.
In your experience?
It did not. it just ran with it.
All right, sorry, Spiller, N25.
N95. So it's basically what I explained earlier. G54 is your user code, G00 is your rapid, and then your X and Z are where you are in accordance to your origin point on the machine.
Sorry, Stone, N100.
N100, we have G42, which is turning on your tool nose compensation, G00, which is the rapid movement to the point that you want it to go to, and the X and the Z is your point that it's going to go to.
What was that first G?
G42,
Which is what?
tool nose compensation, it turns it on.
Okay. So Serrano, 105.
So 105, you're gonna get your G96. That it is your SFM PM, basically the surface feet per minute, because we repeat the same process as we did on the roughing cycle. The only difference, the spindle is gonna be in 1000 instead of 2000, so we can get a finishing cut, and then you can let the machine know to start forward the spindle. That's M03.
Okay. And we got that number from where?
The same. We use the formula that instead of be 600, it's gonna be 800. And that's where we got the number from.
So Colado, 110.
110, you're going to be using the first code is going to be G70, which that's going to be the finish cut. You're telling the machine that you're going to start the finishing cut, and then then it goes to P35, which is the beginning. You're going to look back to N35. That's the start point of where you started the rough cycle, and then the Q80 is the end point of the cutting.
Anybody want to take a guess why we ran the surface feet per minute faster with a lower feed rate than we did in our roughing? Not you.
Make it look prettier.
Okay, so you get a smoother finish at the end, right? So why it's a finishing side. So sorry, Stone 120.
115.
Oh, 115?
Okay, 115. I want to start inside of your going.
No, okay, so 115 we have G40, which is turning off your tool nose compensation, and then G00, which is your rapid movement, and then it's just gonna rapid move to whatever coordinates you put in, the X and the Z, which is just gonna be like a safe point off of your piece.
And what's a rapid movement?
G00?
Or what is it? In
It-
your words, what is G00?
Oh, it takes your cutter and it just moves it very quickly to whatever coordinates you put in so that it's not going slow at the, you know,
No, no, people.
So it's a
Yeah,
rapid
no,
movement
right.
from point A to point B. Whatever you,
correct, whatever point you're at to whatever point you're sending it to, it'll rapid move.
so it's around a 120.
It's gonna be M30 that's gonna end your program.
Okay. So F30 is my program, right? What do I have to have in the beginning, at the end of my code in order for the computer to read it?
The percentage symbol.
Alright? So you have to use these symbols right here. At the end of the, don't ask me why, that's how Haas machines work. But you have to use these symbols, these percentage symbols in the beginning. And what about this right here?
So you need that O to start your code.
Right. So in order for your computer to read, you need the percentage sign, you need to save it as an O, your zip code, and the last number of your zip code is what?
Your exercise.
Program that you're running.
The exercise you're running on, right? Alright. Everybody good? Any questions?
Negative.
Everybody good run? Ready to run it?
Send it.
Do this.